You finish a 10-hour workday exhausted, staring at an empty inbox and a cleared desk, yet your actual needle-moving projects haven't advanced an inch. This is the trap of active procrastination. We constantly convince ourselves that moving quickly and checking off dozens of minor items is the exact same thing as making meaningful progress. In reality, we use those small, comforting chores as camouflage. The quick dopamine hit of answering emails serves as a convenient shield to hide from the heavy, intimidating work we know we need to face. Productivity expert Brian Tracy identifies that massive, looming responsibility as your frog. It is the single hardest, most consequential item on your agenda, and the exact task you are currently avoiding. You cannot beat this avoidance by simply forcing yourself to work longer or trying to summon more discipline. When the underlying operating system is flawed, pouring raw willpower into it only accelerates burnout. Fixing the mechanism requires splitting your workflow into two rigid, non-overlapping phases: a strict period of strategic planning, followed immediately by uncompromising execution. Procrastination is the inevitable byproduct of an unprotected schedule. It happens whenever a person lacks a defensive structure to filter out the noise and protect their most valuable hours. The first half of this system happens entirely in your head and on paper. Before you take any physical action, you have to win the intellectual battle of deciding what actually matters. As detailed in this section of the diagram, the foundation requires setting clear, written goals. You must define your targets and review 3 specific, high-level objectives every single morning. Once those targets are set, you apply the 80-20 rule to your schedule. This acts as a severe mathematical filter to separate high-leverage activities from low-leverage noise. Looking at this distribution, the mathematical reality of leverage becomes clear. A tiny fraction of daily effort produces the vast majority of tangible outcomes. To isolate that value, you apply the ABCDE method, ranking your agenda aggressively from top to bottom. This forces you to clearly define your absolute A tasks, the uncompromising obligations, while ruthlessly identifying the E tasks targeted for immediate elimination. Striking items off your list removes the comfortable padding of minor busywork. It violently narrows your focus until you are staring directly at the few massive projects that dictate real success. Ultimately, this strategic planning is a defensive act of ruthless filtration. It guarantees you only spend your energy fighting battles that actually change the outcome of the war. With the blueprint locked in, the safety of planning ends. The morning begins, and you immediately face the unforgiving reality of taking action. Facing your singular, top-ranked A task carries a sheer psychological weight. It casts an imposing shadow over everything else you have to do. The core execution rule is clear. Eat that frog first. Completely consume your hardest task before touching minor chores or emails. Because motivation is fleeting, rely on a cemented daily routine to guarantee progress. Finally, accelerate execution with a strict commitment to continuous learning. By constantly upgrading your abilities, you systematically lower the resistance of complex arc. The expertise you compound today makes tomorrow's intimidating frogs much easier to swallow. Consistent, high-level execution is a test of endurance, where rigid systems and practiced skills outlast temporary feelings. Compare the frantic end-of-day exhaustion we looked at earlier with the calm, total control of finishing your single largest priority by mid-morning. Achieving that state requires accepting a hard truth. Peak productivity has absolutely nothing to do with increasing the sheer volume of your output. True leverage is incredibly selective. It demands isolating the few critical actions that yield results, relentlessly executing them, and having the discipline to ignore the rest. So start tomorrow by actively severing all of those connections to immediate digital distractions before your workday even begins. Take a hard look at your filtered list, pinpoint the single most intimidating frog on it, and attack it without a second of hesitation. This single, deliberate daily choice is the only real bridge between a life of perpetual, exhausting busyness and a record of actual achievement. If you found this breakdown helpful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.